Recording station. Wow. Welcome everyone for this live session about learn how to leverage feminine energy to succeed. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
We are today with Tilde Guajardo for a live session by Impulse for Women. Impulse for Women was born in July 2017. This is an international nonprofit organization whose main objective, well, some peoples are already connecting. We are a nonprofit organization whose main objective is to increase investment in companies led by women in technology and in social impact projects for women and men. Today we are with Tilde. Tilde is a serial entrepreneur, isn't it? A TED speaker, a global mentor, an author, and also an investor, aren't you?
I am all of those things and much more.
You founded also Womaners.
Yes,
This is an organization which enables women to become the best version of themselves and create a life they love. So it could be a great transition for that session. Learn about to leverage feminine energy to succeed.
exactly. Thank you, Purnell. And thank you everybody for making the time to join us today. Really appreciate it. I've been a global mentor or a mentor for Impulse for Women since it was born. So, and Taryn Anderson is a great friend of mine. And the webinar actually came, the idea for the webinar came after a conversation I had with her about how balancing my own masculine and feminine energy had changed my life recently. So here we are.
Yeah, generally it's not. It's common to think about um, behaviors as inherently feminine or masculine energy. But is there any place for the strength and contribution of all people, of all gender in the workplace? This would be the topic of this live session.
Yeah. So if you want me to, I can go ahead and start the presentation and share the slides with everybody.
So yeah, let's go ahead. We are
And if anybody
looking.
has any comments or questions, I like to play with people or interact with people while I'm presenting. So feel free to put your questions or comments in the chat. Don't be shy. And I'll get started here.
Yeah, and of course, you can unmute yourself to make some comments. So let's go for it, still. Learn to leverage your feminine energy. Quite an inclusive title for this session.
Okay, so we are energy. And a few years ago, I really started to play with the types of energy that that we have. I think a lot of times we forget that we're spirits, that we are energy, and I equate my spirit with energy. And so when you think about it, we've been programmed and taught to always think mind, body, spirit alignment, right? And so what I have done and what I teach now is how to really align spirit, mind, body, because I really believe that being a spirit or energetic being, it is up to that higher being to direct the mind, right? To be able to control my thoughts so that then the actions that I take as a body reflect what I'm thinking, feeling, or being, right? And so, because I really believe that we're creating the reality that we're resonating, We're kind of like that antenna, right? That's attracting everything that we're actually resonating or being. So when you think about your own energy, and you know that your energy is being depleted when you're under stress, when you feel a lot of stress, when you're unclear about the decisions that you need to make, or you keep making the mistakes over and over again. That's just a lot of stress, or you're feeling burnt out. That's when you kind of know that you're out of that spirit, mind, body alignment. So what I'd like to know from you guys, from you all, or for you ladies, is on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your stress level right now? 10 being maxed out stress, 1 being like total chill. You're laying on the beach, not with a care in the world. How would you rate your stress level right now? Anybody?
All right.
Put it
We
in the
are
comments.
on 6 out. People are replying. Valerie told that a 6. Aurora 8. Why Aurora?
Right.
Hedden 6, 7. I would be also a 6, 7.
Yeah. So a lot of times we're in, and actually my threshold is like anything below a 5 or below is actually pretty good. I mean, you're pretty balanced, right? Especially as an entrepreneur. God knows that we're always feeling like we have to do something or get something done. There's a lot of different responsibilities that come with that. But at the same time, we have to learn how to balance ourselves so that we know how to go back into alignment, because that's where really our peace is. And so as you think about you and your own life, and if you're above the threshold of, let's say, a 5 or a 6, and you're at an 8, when's the last time that you actually sat down and just de-stressed? When's the last time that you actually took care of you, took care of your spirit, took the time for yourself to rest and to rejuvenate that part of yourself that I believe is where our infinite creativity, the wisdom, the clarification for everything really resides. And so be thinking about that as we're going through the presentation. And so for me, it was learning how to balance both the masculine and the feminine energy. And I really am not the type of person that likes labels. I just think that we're made up of energy, but for clarity and for presentation purposes, let's call it masculine and feminine energies, because I think it's all good. It's not
Valerie,
it's just,
Valerie has a question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Valerie,
I cannot see the presentation. It puts loading. Am I the only one?
it says it's paused. Screen sharing is paused.
Me neither. It's
you neither.
still
Okay.
loading, and I don't see anything. So
you have the link on the chat. I can share with you. I can share with you the link. Waiting to solve this issue. So sorry.
No problem. It happens.
I'm not sure why it's pausing it.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, I will send you the link right now in the chat. Or maybe I can't directly.
Did it stop when I probably?
No, it did not even start when you
Let me check. The technical issue of the live session.
Let's see. Let me stop the share and try this again.
I can share with you. That's nice. Maybe. Yeah, here we are. And I will also.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
yes. now is available. Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Thanks, Valerie.
Okay,
It was to
so
check if everybody was following the live session.
everybody's still awake.
So, Till, let's go. We were
Yeah, thank you.
defining.
Okay, so no labels, right? Let's just say that we're made up of all these energies, and it's not good or bad, because I think we have a tendency to say, you know, well, masculine energy is this, or feminine energy is to that. So let's just call it energy. But for the sake of this presentation, we're going to define them and see the differences between masculine and feminine energies. And I really believe that we're all made up of both. Okay, it's just learning how to balance what's good for you. When do you need that masculine energy versus the feminine energy? Because for me, at least, it has really been life-changing to be able to know when I need to pull back into my feminine energy, and when I need to go forward in my masculine energy, and what they feel like, actually. So what that has done is given me a self-love and a self-confidence and a self-trust that I have never had before. And in being able to pull back into my feminine energy and just go back to that place of peace, and even to pull back into my masculine energy, I'm able to be very self-aware, be more self-aware about the decisions that I need to make. And feminine energy, and we're going to look at the differences between male and female energy, but feminine energy is more of the receiving, right? I sit back and I listen to my intuition more, and then I make decisions based on what I get from that intuition. So again, it's going back to that alignment and really being clear about what's good for me, right? I can take advice, and I can hear advice from amazing people, amazing mentors, coaches, whatever it is. But in the end, I have to know that it's right for me. And I think a lot of times we look at outwardly at people's success and the success that they've had, which is great. But their 3-step process might not work for me. Maybe 2 out of the 3 steps work for me, but not the whole thing. And we have to be confident enough and trust ourselves and our intuition enough to say, okay, those 2 work for me. That third one, not so much. I'll have to maybe tweak it a little bit. Does that make sense to everybody? And I think we often tend, especially as female entrepreneurs, like, you know, we want to succeed. Who doesn't want to succeed? And if you see somebody else succeeding, you want to use them as an example and do those 3 steps, 5 steps, 7 steps, whatever it is. But in the end, if it doesn't feel right to you, it doesn't feel right, and you're not going to get the results that you're really looking for. So here are, here's the best list that I could find on healthy masculine and healthy feminine. It also describes the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine. And I think as you look at this list, can everybody see the presentation? Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay. So as you look at the healthy masculine, you know, present without being distracted. And like I said, don't look at it as male or female. Okay. It's just the energy that we're all made up of. Non-judgmental, committed and powerful, deep integrity and humbleness, all of that. So with the healthy feminine energy, you're strong and have boundaries, loving and supportive, vulnerable, compassionate, receptive, intuitive and creative, ask for what she needs, enjoying the process of creating, and able to relate to others by listening, sharing. And I can't see what the bottom of that says because your little heads are down there. So, but then you look at the wounded side, right? You look at the wounded side of the masculine and the feminine energies. And if you look at the world today, okay, take that 40,000 foot view of the world today, and you can see the mess that we have made, and why the world is sort of in the mess that it's made of, and why capitalism is looked upon the way that it is in some places. You know, you look at the attachment to success, you look at the fear of failure. You know, everything is from a place of fear. You have the healthy side of these energies that is from a place of love and joy and peace. And then you look at the wounded side of these energies, and they're mainly from a place of fear, like the need to be right, aggressiveness, cold and distant, critical and judgmental, looking for external validation, being insecure, manipulative, stuck in victimhood, excessively attached, desperate for love, and sacrificing herself. That sacrificing herself was me. I'll be the first to admit, I constantly self-sacrificed myself for others over and over and over again until it hit me between the eyes. And I was just like, holy crap, like this, I've been doing this. I've been self-abandoning myself over and over again. And when I took that power back, when I was self-aware enough to take that power back and stop doing that, is part of the self-love journey that I went on. And it changed just the perception that I had of myself and the perception that I had of others, and how I was showing up a lesser version of myself over and over again. And so in stepping into the feminine energy, my feminine energy, I stopped doing and I started being. Now, what does that mean? I stopped pushing things, trying to make things happen. How many entrepreneurs, or how many of you find yourself trying to push things through, trying to make things happen? And this was part of the conversation that Taryn and I had while I was in Barcelona recently. And, you know, how when we try to push things and we try to do things and force things to happen, you know, it's that aggressiveness, it's that fear of failure, or you're stuck in your mind with all the negative thoughts and the past experiences that you've had, those limiting beliefs that keep coming up. You get stuck in that wheel of replaying all the failures that you've had before, instead of being present and looking at what's gone right, and how when things have gone right, you've actually been in a place of peace. You've actually not even expected it, you know, or you did expect it, but you didn't hold on so tight to it that you needed it. And so as we were discussing that, I was telling her how in my feminine energy, I sat back and I started to receive. I started to receive the answers that I was looking for. I didn't try to make things happen anymore. I became very intentional about the things or the meetings that I would take, the tasks that I would do that day. And I didn't have to do 10 tasks anymore. I was fine with doing 1 to 3 tasks and then sitting back and listening again, because then I started to find I got more stuff done and things started to happen for me, if you will, instead of to me. Doors started to open again that had been closed before. Opportunities started coming to me. And that's the big difference. Okay, I didn't go out chasing anything anymore. Things were coming to me. And so as you're looking at this list, you know, where, and you don't have to share it if you don't want to, because I know this is personal and going to be going out live. But as you look at yourself and you look at the list of things here, you know, I want you to really think about, like, what is it that might be holding you back? You know, are you more in your wounded energy, or are you more in that healthy kind of energy? And then as you look at your life and in the circumstances that you've been in the past and that you find yourself in now, which of these energies is going to help you kind of move through that a little bit easier? Is this making sense to everybody?
So
in looking at this, like, in the circumstances, like I can see the list and say, okay, for me in my past, I was fear. It was a fear of failure that was from asking people for help, or feeling like I was going to be judged for it, or feeling less than, right? Feeling unworthy, feeling very insecure about asking my friends for help. And so for me, that was a huge lesson in receiving for me, is actually asking people for help, and I needed it. And it wasn't easy. I mean, you have to put your ego completely aside in order to do some of this stuff, because the ego is all about fear and wants to keep you in fear. And in order to get healthy and whole, you have to come from that place of love, of joy, peace, freedom, and authenticity. That's the healthy version of you, is the authentic part of yourself that shows up.
So regarding the difference between, I do have a question, Tilde. It's not so clear for me, all the signs of feminine energies. I mean, maybe this is something you will comment later, but what are the signs of feminine energy, and how we can well, activate them?
So activate it. Go back to the list, and I'll be happy to share the presentation on the healthy feminine energies that was on the list. I mean, if you want the list, you can look at the healthy feminine and healthy masculine energies. Like I said, the labels are there because we both possess, but we possess them all. We possess those healthy energies within us. And it's finding the balance and learning when to pull those healthy energies for what we need at that moment in time. So sometimes the difference, one of the big differences, let's say, if you want to look at differences, is a feminine energy will sit back and listen to her intuition and make decisions and take action from that place of intuition, where masculine energy is more about taking initiative, taking action, right? So the balance is listening to your intuition, then taking action, not just taking action. Does that make sense
We are
for everybody?
thinking. Thanks for the whole
And you're busy
clarification.
for the sake of being busy. When you're busy for the sake of being busy, that's masculine energy. That's thinking, I need to get these, I feel more successful if I get the list of 10 things done, when all you really needed to do were the top 3.
So is that correct to talk about activate? I mean, the verb to action, to activate feminine energy. Is that correct? Is this not something paradoxical?
It's not
I don't
about
know.
activating. I wouldn't call. I would say being self-aware, right? Because activating it, it's already there. It's tapping into it. It's recognizing your feminine energy. It's appreciating,
Accepting.
it's appreciating, it's accepting, it's utilizing, leveraging it, it's leveraging that part of yourself, which I think is, if you want to define it as feminine, is really that collaborative part of yourself, right? Or the sensitive part of yourself, where you're, and this is where men and women are different, right? In that men are a little bit more competitive, women are more collaborative. And I'm going to go over this here. So like the 3 deadly C's for me that really diminish our feminine energy are competition, being critical of ourselves, and always comparing ourselves to everybody else. Okay. So when we're in competition, the only competition that I'm ever in is with myself. How can I be better? What can I do better? And the critical part is probably the hardest part for us to overcome, because we're asked to stop thinking negatively about us, right? So stop criticizing yourself. And then in comparison, and the critical part is also part of judging others, right? Because if you're not confident in yourself, if you don't love yourself, how in the heck are you going to love other people?
Yeah, for sure.
So
You can
and also the third one of that is the comparison, right? In today's society, we're always comparing ourselves to others. I mean, all you have to do is look at the advertising and marketing that's thrown at us every single day. It's always asking us to look better, be better, feel better, you know, whether it's pharmaceuticals, skincare, whatever it is, we're always being compared to what somebody else thinks is the ideal, right? To what somebody else thinks is beautiful, to what somebody else thinks is successful, right? So that's why I call these the 3 deadly C's. So instead of competing with others, collaborate.
and help yourself.
Right. Because there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. You know,
Valerie, maybe you can just unmute yourself. You had a question you put on the chat.
okay. No, she said.
No,
So
before I was putting on the chat, I think another Aurora also, just it was before the question before, I was just putting on the chat.
So it was overall. She's not taking care of herself in a respectful way through what I do. And Valerie replying, she's nodding to ask what I need and putting boundaries. Tilde, do you want to comment something regarding that?
No, I want to thank her for sharing, because that's part of the learning process and part of the getting into your feminine energy, right? Is being able to admit, like, I'm not taking care of myself in a respectful way through what I do. So, is it Aurora? Aurora, how can you change that? What is it that you can do today when you step away from this webinar that is a reflection of you taking care of yourself? Just one thing. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be just that one thing that you do differently every day from now on that says, I'm going to respect myself today in this moment, right? Because I think a lot of times we try to make these grand gestures, or we think I have to do this before that. And that's not the case. It's those little tiny steps that I know have made a huge difference in my life. And sometimes it can be as easy as changing the perception that you have about the circumstances that you find yourself in, right? Sometimes it's not doing anything, it's just changing your mindset about the situation. So
yeah,
instead of competition,
we will all apply that.
Yeah, exactly. Instead
Maybe
of collaborate,
step.
Instead of being critical of yourself and others, be encouraging and supportive. I've learned to be my biggest cheerleader, right? Because sometimes there's nobody else.
Yeah, to take care of her.
I have to put my big girl panties on and get out there and, you know, lead the cheer team of one, which is me. So, you know, learn to do that and be encouraging and supportive. I find that, you know, if I'm in need of something, if I'm in need of feeling loved, the easiest way to overcome that is to go out and love somebody. I'll pick up the phone, call somebody and tell them I love them. And I end up receiving even more than I anticipated, right? So if you need some encouragement, have those people, you know, in your inner circle that you can call and say, I'm not feeling that great today, and boom, right there they are to encourage you, to remind you that you're an awesome, awesome woman with an incredible calling. And it's okay to feel like you do in that moment, but to also remind you that the things that you're doing require someone like you to inspire others and to get the job done that you're looking to. Remember your why. You know, that's part of the encouraging part, is to remember. When I remember my why, I remember when I got up this morning, for instance, I was excited. I was looking forward to this because I love doing this. I love reminding people, reminding women in particular, how powerful, beautiful, sexy, and life-changing we can be for others because of the work that we're doing. When we're in alignment, when we're being true to ourselves, when we're healthy and whole and doing the things that we love. That's why I get up. So learn to encourage and support yourself, but also have that circle of 2 or 3. It doesn't take a lot, that those 2 or 3 people that you can always count on when you don't feel like encouraging yourself, and you just need to pick up the phone and call somebody. And the third thing that beats the comparison is being authentic and unique, and knowing as an entrepreneur and as even an investor, in the things that you invest in, are you being authentic? Are you in line with your values? In making those decisions, in networking with that network of people, and taking money from people that are investors, do they align with your values? Because all of that is really, really important. Are you investing in people or companies that reflect your values too? That's that's part of this feminine energy, right? Is that collaboration, that standing in our power, that executing and encouraging and loving.
Well, this would be the motto: remember your why. And I think this is something I would put it in the chat so that people can remember it.
So here's some of the things that I thought about as an investor, that sometimes, unconsciously we have these biases or limiting beliefs, and we don't even realize it until somebody points it out to us. I'm an investor in a company called ShiftCo, and what they do is they teach conscious business owners how to grow their businesses. It's a learning platform for conscious businesses. And I align, like before I even said yes to helping to start this or to invest my time in this company, I really, I knew the owner, knew the founder, and I listened to what their values were and what they were trying to do in the world to make sure that it aligned with my values. And so for me, it was really, really important, because I had invested my time and money in other companies that weren't necessarily aligned with me, and I had lost, right? I had lost big time, and it didn't feel good. So for me, this new company that I invested in, I wanted to do things differently. And it has been one of the most rewarding things that I have ever done in my life, because I not only invested my time, but I also helped, help to bring it to life with the team of 11 of us that came together to do that. And so it was really collaborative, and it was very feminine. I think there was 10 of us or 9 of us that were women, and 2 were men that brought it to life. So it was really a unique experience. But some of the unconscious biases that we might have as investors, and limiting beliefs, and that we tend to be harder on female founders than we are on male founders. We don't trust women entrepreneurs as much as men to succeed. And I think that's just a conditioning. Okay, that's just a program that we have. That's a limiting belief that we have. Is that true? Absolutely not, because the statistics show differently, right? And if we actually look at the statistics of that, of how successful women are as founders that have investment, that have received investment, it should be a no-brainer for women investors to invest in other women.
Tilde, do you have in mind some reports or concretely, as you mentioned, some reports?
I don't, not offhand, but I know Taryn has access to all that, Prunell. So I'm sure that Impulse for Women.
No, I can, of course.
Yeah, because
she's some data.
To all those numbers. But another limiting belief may be men are a better bet because they're not as emotional and more logical in business. Now, how many times have you heard that, excuse that women are more too emotional, right? Whether it's in politics or business or whatever. But I really think that we need to get over that as an unconscious bias or a limiting belief as women investors as well, that, that just because a woman is emotional or leveraging her intuition, let's say, more so than men, that somehow that diminishes her capacity to be a great leader. So I think also, women, and again, this was a conversation that Taryn and I had, women tend to invest less money in women-owned businesses. And I use the example, I primarily live in Dallas. And so what I've seen is that women, affluent women will have no problem spending $10,000, $20,000 shopping. But when you ask them to invest in a women-owned business, they're very hesitant in doing that. Right. And so the question then begs to differ, like, why? Why is that? What causes that gap, in that someone is eager to pay $20,000 on a shopping spree on things that aren't going to matter probably in the next 6 months or so, but they're unwilling to invest in another woman founder that has a great idea, or to invest the same amount of money in someone that has a great idea. And so, and again, these are unconscious biases that are not done on purpose, but it should cause people to pause and think, right? Like, do I do this? Do I do this in any capacity? I don't care if it's, $20,000 or $10. What do I have this unconscious bias? So does anybody have any questions or comments about that? Yes.
Maybe. Do you think this is something related to society policy, and if so, how to make things changes? I mean,
I think
what could be done?
I think we have been conditioned to think like this, right? With the way that we're brought up. For instance, women, like even in my family, it's a Hispanic family. I'm a third generation Texan, but very Latin family. And so the men tend to be more glorified than women, right? And parents tend to invest more in sons than they do in their daughters. And that's one of those unconscious biases, right? They do it because it's always been done that way. And I think it's up to us as women to change that dynamic. And especially the way things are moving. I mean, we're looking at a transition, a wealth transition that we've never seen before, of women, now coming into so much money in the trillions globally, where you're seeing a lot more women investors, you're seeing a lot more women coming into wealth. And so I think now is the time for us to make those changes, to make those shifts. And not to say that we shouldn't invest in men and in men-owned businesses, but I really think that we need to take a look at ourselves and say, okay, how can we invest in businesses that are aligned with my values? Like for me and my values, I love social impact, people that are making a difference, like Shifco. making a difference in other conscious business owners that also are making a difference in other people, right? So that's impact. That's the type of impact that I want to have. And so as investors and even as entrepreneurs, we really have to start to change the dynamic by changing the conversation, changing our perception, really taking a look at ourselves and undoing the limiting beliefs that we have, the unconscious biases, and start to do things differently, little by little. And it's not going to happen overnight, but if we each make a change together at the same time or around the same time, then we'll start to collectively see a huge difference, because there is a massive transfer of wealth right now. And the difference that we can make is huge. I believe that.
Yeah, we also believe that in Impulse for Women. And Tilde, we try to provide the necessary tools and skills to increase the probability for funding for women-led startups. Not to empower women, because female-led founders are just the way to provide the tools, operating both online and offline.
One of the things I've learned, because I've been speaking and mentoring women entrepreneurs for years now, and one of the things that I've seen that's common across the board, whether you're looking at women investors or women entrepreneurs, is the confidence level has to go up and the self-worth has to go up in order for us to really start to see these changes happening. Because if not, then we're going to perpetuate the systems that have been in place for way too long. One of the great examples of how women need more confidence and self-worth. Taryn has, probably been to or held these pitch sessions, right, for women, and attended other pitch sessions that are specifically for women. And a lot of times it's more men that show up than women for these pitch sessions. And so you really have to ask why is that happening? And so I believe that it is because of the confidence level. And I can say that because of the women that I've met and that I've talked to from all over the world that have this confidence issue and worthiness issue. They're still shy about going out there and asking for money. And so again, it's stepping into that feminine energy, feminine power, and feeling confident and being able to project that and to feel it and to resonate that. Because investors, if I'm a female entrepreneur pitching and investors don't feel my confidence, then why am I going to invest in you? If you're not projecting confidence and self-worth, confidence in your vision, confidence in you, confidence in your team, it all goes back to that, and knowing who you are, your why, and again, learning how to leverage your feminine power in doing that.
Till, sorry to interrupt. We have a reflection from Valerie. Maybe we have to change also the structures of pitches and atmospheres, how these places are created. This is so true.
I love that, Valerie. Absolutely. And I think that's part of the problem. You hit the nail on the head, because we've been trying to put, a square peg in a round hole, and it just doesn't fit. So why not create something radically different? I think that's a brilliant idea.
We all agree. Yeah, Valerie.
Yeah. And so this is just to give you a sense of where I was last year and where I arrived when I started to really do the work, and when I started to leverage my feminine energy, my feminine power, and go back into that receiving mode, go back and, like I said, I'm happy to share the healthy the slide or all the slide
Feminine.
presentation, but if you just want that one, I'm happy to share the slide with the healthy feminine energy and masculine energy. But this is how I looked August of 2022. I mean, this was the biggest I had been and the heaviest and the most miserable I had been in my entire life. Okay. This was December. And this was January of this year. And I share this because it was the inner work I did. It had nothing to do with me doing, and pushing through or going to the gym every day or anything. No, I sat back. I actually did an exercise, a body image exercise that changed my life to where I just loved myself in that condition. I learned to love myself from there, not now, but from there, I loved myself. And as I accepted myself and was grateful for the body that had brought me to this place, I was then able to change my perception and what I ate. I started walking. I didn't go to the gym all that much, but really just walking, and that was it. Just being happy and grateful for everything. And that was the results. I got rid of those limiting beliefs. This is why I know that we're energy, because I got rid of all the negative energy and the stress that I was holding within me. And that love that I had in me then turned into the person that I am today. And so I hope that encourages you, because it can happen not only for you personally, but for your business, for your investments, for everything. The way that you feel about yourself inwardly reflects in the outer world that you're creating.
So you mean by sharing with us your this physical example, that all is possible. The importance is to remember your why. I loved this motto, and to go ahead to work on it step by step. This would be the conclusion.
Exactly. Remember not your why, but who you are, and be
who you are.
Yeah.
What do you want?
How do you want to show up in the world? What do you want to create in the world? And do it from a place of love and peace and joy, not from your ego. Define success for yourself, because my definition of success is going to be different from all of you. And I'm okay with that. Right? And so the same thing goes for you. That's how you leverage your feminine energy. You define your success for yourself, and you enjoy the journey. That's success. Feeling whole, happy as we're going through the journey, not just when we get the goal or when we get the money, but on the way there is to have as much fun as we possibly can and enjoy the process.
Doing things, not only having some goals in mind, but enjoying all the process.
Right. Like me doing this presentation, I loved the research. I loved making the slides. I enjoyed thinking about, doing this. And so for me, it wasn't just getting to do this webinar, but it was the whole process leading up to it.
Well, anybody wants to ask, feel free. You can just unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Yes, Doris, it is very much a spiritual journey. And I think because we are spirits, we are energetic beings, we're all here to do something very unique and wonderful, not only for ourselves, but for the world. And most of us feel called, right, to create this business or to invest in businesses to make a difference somehow. And I think coming from that place of authenticity and alignment, that's how we make maximum impact and have maximum influence in the world.
Anyone else wants to? Well, thanks a lot, Tilde. we were really pleased to have you for this live session. We've learned a lot. The session has been registered and recorded, and for sure we will publish it soon throughout our channels, YouTube, if you missed the beginning of the session. Tilde is a partner of Impulse for Women for some years ago from Taryn, our CEO and co-founder in Impulse for Women. And should you have any question, we are available to solve them. Impulse for Women, I mentioned it as a startup investing platform for female-led tech startups and social impact projects. And we will be pleased to help us to leverage your feminine energy to succeed. And Tilde, thanks a lot for your participation. This was the second live session with you.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate you and the questions and the comments and just the interactivity. I hope to get to know you one-on-one sometime. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Happy to chat and discuss further.
I share in the chat the presentation, and you have all the contacts of Tilde should you want to go further. She is also available. Thanks everyone. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening for some. Bye.